So I've got a pretty interesting overview of what it's like living in the city of Cleveland, Ohio. I grew up in a suburb just south of Cleveland that is called Parma, and I had a great experience living there and growing up there. However, like most kids who are going off to college, they want the whole experience of being independent from their parents and learning what it's living like on their own. So I ended up going over west in Ohio over to Toledo, and I went to school there, graduated, lived a couple extra years, and then I ended up wanting to move back. Now, I had a pretty good idea as far as what I was getting into when I moved back. However, there were some things that caught me off guard. And even though I was gone for 7 years, so much had changed over that amount of time. So today I'm going to be talking about the 6 things that I wish I knew when I was moving back to Cleveland, Ohio. The first thing that I need to talk about is going to be the fact that having friends here is going to make or break your experience. If you don't have friends in the area, you're probably not going to have a good time here. However, there are a lot of opportunities for activities and stuff, but it's more fun when you have people around you. I just happen to be lucky enough to have kept in touch with some of my old friends who were still in the area, so that made the transition a little bit easier. But in the recent years, I've made so many more friends, and it is just making my life a lot more enjoyable. So there's some easy things here that you can do to make some new friends, and the first one is going to be just hanging out with the people that you work with. If there's someone at your job that you mesh well with, you can definitely ask them to hang out, and it's a quick way to make a friend. But I know it can be a little bit annoying spending all of your time with someone. But that brings me to my number 2 point. And if you have children, you have the opportunity to participate in their after school activities or be a part of the PTA at the school. And chances are there, you're probably going to meet someone who is like-minded to you. And it's just going to be an easy transition into making a new friend there. That way you're not having to wake up in the morning, see them at work, and then see them after work as well. I'm more of an introverted person, believe it or not, so I definitely understand the relaxation that a break will give you from some people. Now, the third way that I found to make friends as an adult is just to join recreation sports. It's a really great way to meet new people, and you're kind of forced to like each other through teamwork and competition, so it's a great way to build relationships. Now, I think this is the best way because 1, it's super healthy to get your body moving, and 2, you have the ability just to go online, type in the recreational activity that you want to do, and also the city that you're in. So I went on Facebook, typed in Cleveland soccer, and looked at all of the pages that were listed, and I found one called For Sports, and that just happens to be one of the soccer associations here. They run beer leagues and competitive leagues for adults, so it was my in. And I didn't know anyone in the area, so I just posted on the page, said I'm looking for a team. I'm an ex-soccer player who's looking to get back into it, and I had 3 teams pick me up. Now, the first game I showed up to, I didn't know anyone, and no one happened to be there, so while I was eating my food, I stopped someone who was walking by and asked them about the place that we're playing at, and they told me all about it. We ended up keeping in touch, and then lo and behold, they became one of my best friends. And I ended up becoming incredibly tight with the team that I played with that night as well. We've been playing multiple sessions, and we're actually a really good team now that we know each other, and we've been playing together for so long. If you've got any other tips for making friends as an adult, definitely leave it down in the comments below. I'm always curious, especially when it comes to creating new relationships. Now, the second thing that I wish I remembered when I moved back to Cleveland was that the winters are incredibly rough here compared to a lot of the other areas that are surrounding in Ohio. When I moved back here, the very first snow that we got during that winter was almost up to my thighs in some spots, and I didn't have a snowblower, and I knew the snow was coming the next day, so I ended up waking up at 4 in the morning, getting my shovel out and digging the cars out so that my girlfriend could get to work and I could get to Home Depot and buy a snowblower so that way I didn't hate my life for the rest of the winter. Now, my driveway was pretty long, and it took me about 3 hours just to dig her car out so she could leave by 7, and then it took me another hour to dig out my car. So I didn't get to Home Depot that day until around 9 a.m. and by then only half of my driveway was done. So I ended up spending almost the rest of my day outside clearing the snow, getting everything nice and ready for when it started to snow again. So if you're thinking about moving to the area, that is definitely something that you're going to want to keep in mind. The snow is kind of a pain in the butt when it comes in heavy from that lake effect snow. Now, I know it's only a 2-hour difference from where I was in Toledo to Cleveland, but when they say we get lake effect snow, they really mean it. And snow isn't a bad thing to me because I enjoy snowboarding in the winter and going to Boston Mills and Brandywine. However, if you're not prepared to keep up with all the snow and have the tools to make your life a little bit easier, you're probably not going to have a good time. Bringing me into the third thing that I wish I knew when I moved back to Cleveland, it is that there is a lot of construction. Now, the main reason that we have so much construction is because the winter beats on our roads incredibly hard. We salt our roads here, and between the freezing and thawing of the water when it gets in the cracks of the roads, it expands and then creates bigger cracks, and it just makes the roads a lot worse. So all summer, the construction workers spend their time fixing these roads to keep them up. And it's incredibly nice that they do that. However, it is kind of a pain in the butt when you are driving your normal route and then the road's closed and you have to take a detour and it makes you late. Moving into point number 4 for things that I didn't expect when I was moving back to Cleveland, it is the prices of everything here. It's gotten a lot more expensive to live here over the last 10 years. I remember I used to go to my favorite taco place and spend about $9 on tacos and then be out of there for a super cheap meal. And now I'm lucky if I get out of there for under 20. And that's for one of the more affordable restaurants in the area. If I am going out to a nicer place with my girlfriend, I am lucky if I get out under $60, but that is just something to keep in mind. That's just something that happens as inflation goes on. And the other thing that I'm noticing at these restaurants is that the drink prices are going up as well. If you want to get some sort of mixed drink that's an alcoholic beverage, you're probably going to be between that $10 and $15 mark, whereas you used to be able to get them a lot cheaper. Now I don't drink anymore, but I feel kind of bad when I go out with my friends and I watch their tab just get ran up. I love living in Cleveland and I appreciate that it's a growing economy, but it was always nice having those cheaper prices back then. Now another thing you need to think about is the cost of living here compared to a lot of different places. It's a lot cheaper than most other places, but it's inflated a lot from what we were used to. As far as home prices go, if you want to live in the suburbs, you're probably going to be right around that $250,000 mark for the average home price. There's some areas where you can get cheaper housing and there's a ton of areas where you can get more expensive, but you're probably going to land around that $250,000 range if you want to be at that mid price point. And jumping into point number 5 for the things that I didn't expect when moving back to Cleveland, it is the actual driving here. All of the traffic moves incredibly smooth, and the only times you're really going to get caught is if you hit that construction that I talked about, if you're leaving an event downtown, or if you're heading home from work and you're caught in rush hour. But even the rush hour here isn't that bad. The traffic still moves. It's almost never a standstill. But the negative side to driving here is that if you're on the side streets or in a left lane on the highway, you're probably going to be behind someone who's driving incredibly slow. People like to drive at or below the speed limit here, and that gets pretty frustrating when you're caught behind them. However, they're pretty conscious of their space, so they stay in those right lanes on the highway and you're able to get around them pretty easily. So if you're coming from a place that drives a little bit more aggressively like I did when I was in Toledo, it can definitely get on your nerves a little bit. But after you live here for a while, you just get used to it. And then for our final 6th topic that I didn't expect when I was moving back to Cleveland, it was really more of something that I just didn't realize while I lived here. And that is how much nature we actually have in the area. No matter where you're at, you're able to have really quick access to a bunch of different hiking, or if you're not a woods type person, you have the ability to go to a bunch of different beaches. Over in Bay Village, you have the ability to go to Huntington Beach and be surrounded by some amazing houses and some really pretty scenery. Or you can make your way over to Rocky River Park or Edgewater Beach in Cleveland. All those spots you're able to go hang out at Lake Erie, watch the waves come crashing in, and just enjoy the relaxation of being around the water. And another popular thing to do here is hunt for sea glass. So when you go out on the beach, you just sift through the rocks and then you're going to be looking for broken pieces of glass that have been eroded from moving back and forth so much. The glass almost turns into a stone itself. It's really cool. Now, if you are more of the nature type, there's a ton of different parks that you can go walk around, but the really cool ones, in my opinion, are going to be the Rocky River Reservation, because there's miles and miles of hiking there, and it flows through 8 cities actually, and there's some amazing overlooks that you can go check out. And then if you work your way south down into like the Strongsville area, you're going to have the Cleveland MetroParks, and there again you're going to have a ton of different hiking trails. There's walking paths, you can ride your bike. But the real kicker of the Cleveland area is that we have an actual national park here if you travel southeast. The Cuyahoga Valley National Park is such a beautiful place, and the fact that it's only 30 minutes away from me, I didn't even realize it when I was a teenager. Now, I used to go to all the different parks that surround here and just wander around in the woods, go check out waterfalls nearby, but I honestly never knew what a national park was until I started to get a little bit older and realized that there's only 50 of them in the United States. So do I think Cleveland is a great place to live? Absolutely. However, there are some things that you're going to have to learn when you're moving to the area, and I hope these few things were able to help you out, especially if you're starting to look during this process. Now, if you're looking to buy a home in the Cleveland area, definitely reach out to me. I help a ton of people relocate every year, and I know the different parts of Cleveland very well. So depending on your lifestyle, I can offer up some different cities that might fit what you're looking for. And if you have the ability to visit here, that's even better. So if you want to contact me, you can find all my information down in the description. And while you're down there, you're probably going to see all my social media. But before you go to my different pages, make sure you click that like button and subscribe, just so that you can keep up with everything that I have going on. I do a lot of different updates about Cleveland itself and what it's like to live here. But with all that being said, I am going to leave the video there. I'll catch you in the next one.